Okay. Welcome in, everyone. We're going to give everyone a few more minutes to join. All right, we'll get kicked off. It's 12:01. That is always the longest minute of my life when I say we'll get started in a few minutes. And as people join in, we'll just continue to let them in and keep moving forward. But thanks for joining us. Another webinar. We've been doing these monthly webinars for, I think this is our fourth. We started in June, and historically, the past 3 months, we've done very M&A centric topics. And so you might think this is a slight deviation from that. In some ways it is, but in some ways, we're talking about how data enhances the role of a fractional and the end client. And we know that a lot of fractionals serve clients somewhere in that exit journey as well. And so it's maybe slightly deviated, but also I think will be very insightful and helpful to many of the same audience as well. So a brief overview of what we're going to be talking about today. As I mentioned, this is very geared towards those serving in a fractional capacity. So specifically in a fractional executive capacity. And we're talking about how, as the title says, data makes you sticky, and how delivering results as a fractional executive can really enhance long-term client relationships, and specifically the strategic use of data, both from a fractional, like your own internal perspective as a fractional, but also for the end client and utilizing their internal business data to enhance the ROI that the client's receiving. So that's kind of a general overview of what we're going to talk about. We'll do welcome intros as we usually do, and then we're going to talk about what we're calling sticky strategies. So we're going to go through, I believe it's 5 sticky strategies, ways that you can utilize data pretty, quickly applicable to client relationships that you have currently. We have with us today Jeff Roberts, who will get to share some insights from his experience running a fractional CTO, CIO firm. So thank you, Jeff, for being with us, and we'll let him introduce himself in a bit. And we'll run through key takeaways, Q&A, and hope to get you guys out of here before 12:45. So a little bit about us at InfoFluency. We exist, and the purpose of our business is to help businesses utilize and visualize their internal business data. We truly believe that being able to have access to your business data and use it strategically is a huge enhancement to an internal business. And the way we help businesses do that is by providing interactive dashboards that really makes the data come alive, tell a story, and is just easy to interpret and understand. We often partner with fractional executives, and we view them as trusted advisors often to enhance business outcomes for our shared clients. If you've been in our past webinars, this is something we haven't shared before, but some questions we've received and some feedback is basically the question of what do you guys exactly do? And so we threw in a slide of a few of our services just to give some idea and some flavor for the types of ways that we serve our clients. And I won't go into huge detail here, but we offer a variety of pre-built dashboards. That's more of a plug and play service. We do full custom solutions, more advanced analytics like AI, machine learning, predictive and forecasting, things like that, as well as integration and kind of some more data solutions type of services. So hopefully that kind of helps round out the question of what exactly do we do and give some clarity there. All right, Robin, I'm going to pass it to you to introduce ourselves.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alyssa. I'm Robin Sturgis. I founded InfoFluency. Gosh, it's been almost 20 years now. And I focus on operational thriving. And focus on making sure that our clients have exceptional service all the time. And so that's my primary focus, and just really glad to be here, and really pleased to see so many of you here today too.
And I'm Alyssa McGinn, and I won't bury the lead. Robin and I are related. So if you think the pictures look weirdly similar, it's because they are. So this is a family run business, but I focus specifically on vision, expansion, growth, so strategic partnerships, new client relationships, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm Carrie Eggleston. I have the pleasure of supporting these incredible ladies and the firm on finding incredible new clients and supporting Alyssa's vision and growth initiatives. I would be remiss to not introduce our incredible services team, who without we could not support our clients in this incredible way that we do. So project managers, our lead analysts, support analysts, special contractors, and partners. And today I have the honor of introducing our special guest as well, Jeff Roberts. He is the founder and CEO of Innovation Vista. Jeff, thank you so much for being here with us today. I will let you give the audience a little bit of a deeper introduction.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm very glad to be here. Have known the InfoFluency team now for a few years and have tremendous respect for them. And I know that we are very aligned on how we think about data and the exciting things that we've been able to do for clients with data. So excited to talk about that today.
Great, thank you. Okay, and so who's with us? If you want to participate, we welcome you in the chat to drop your name, your company, what your company does, or any combination of whatever you're comfortable with sharing. We do think this has historically been a great opportunity for some additional networking within the chat, but also gives us some clarity as to who's in the room today so that we can help shape the conversation and tailor it a little bit more. Additionally, with questions, feel free to drop those in the chat at any time as well. We will field questions later on, but don't worry if for some reason we don't get to all the questions. We'll ensure that we follow up with you after the fact. But again, as something jogs your memory, feel free to drop it in there and we'll start triaging those towards the end of the webinar.
Awesome. Well, thank you, guys. Let's jump into the meat of what we're talking about today. So I'm going to lay out 5 different strategies for making yourself sticky as that fractional provider who is needing to be effective immediately and in a short period of time, and has the job of integrating themselves deeply into the client's business in that short period of time. And I hope to help you envision how data can play a part in that, and how it's something that can really be leveraged to ensure that the client is getting maximum value and helps you ensure that you are providing that exceptional value to the client. So I'm going to present each of these strategies with an example. And so our first strategy is that data can be used to get up to speed on a new engagement very quickly. There's much to learn about a company, and so data is something that can be used to very quickly gain that knowledge that you need to be effective in the engagement. So example scenario of this is a fractional COO who used a customer ranking built from sales data to quickly learn the customer base. And even the COO in an operations role needs to understand who the clients are and who is driving the revenue and who they are serving in an operational capacity. So it was a very applicable use of data to get that fractional executive up to speed very, very quickly. And this has application in many other forms. The point being that data itself can be used in any manner of equipping the fractional executive to understand the client business very quickly. All right, sticky strategy number 2. Data can provide the kind of insights that allows a fractional executive to deliver value very quickly. And data has an unique ability to call out areas for improvement, problem areas that need to be addressed, as well as areas of strength. And so using that data to identify where the fractional executive can very quickly, very pointedly deliver quick value. And our example here is a fractional CFO who looked at profitability and was able to understand profitability by product category as a way to very quickly identify ways to improve that profitability. In this example, the categories which are most profitable can be focused on the categories in the middle. Perhaps that executive puts in a pricing strategy or a complete overhaul of pricing. And then perhaps the recommendation would be on the unprofitable product categories, just to completely sunset those altogether. So that's just an example of a way that data could be used to identify very quickly where a big impact can be made. All right, sticky strategy number 3 is that we all know the data is very objective, and it's a powerful way to prove progress and success of initiatives that fractional executive would put in place. It really can be used to show strong ROI, to prove value, and to really measure the effectiveness of those initiatives that have been put in place. And in addition, on the way to proving that they were successful is to tweak them and refine them so that they are maximally successful over that period of time. So our example here is a CSO, and in this I'm meaning a chief sales officer, to put a top account growth strategy in place. And data can be used to gauge the progress in those top accounts. And in this example here, we're showing just that in the purple, we've got pipeline value. And so each one of these top accounts can be monitored for the pipeline growth and then the closed business growth and the revenue impact that strategy has contributed account by account. All right, sticky strategy number 4. Data is the basis from which a fractional executive or provider can objectively steer the ship. And consensus building is something that's so important in being able to affect change and to be an effective executive. And so data is something that is a great consensus builder because it is so objective. So in this example, we're looking at a fractional CMO who used data to gain consensus for marketing channel strategy and was able to say, of all these channels, this one here is the most effective. And so that person can use that as a very objective point to gain consensus and to drive that strategy forward with full and complete buy-in. All right, sticky strategy number 5. And I personally think this might be the strongest example of using data as a diagnostic tool. And it's just a unique power that data has, especially when it's put in visual form. to really have the ability to see outliers, to see opportunities, and to drill into root causes of issues. So I'm going to give a couple of examples here. First is a sales example where data can be used to diagnose the reasons behind customer churn. So in this little example here, it was an issue of competitors doing a better job. That competitor, had more advantageous pricing or was delivering a better product. And that diagnosis can be used by the fractional executive to, once they've identified those reasons for the issue, can then put in action plans in place to address, what the data showed was the issue. So I'm going to also call out an interesting example where actually bad data was the diagnostic tool. And in all of our other examples, we're really going with the premise that data is clean, data is well presented, it's accessible, it's all the things that we want it to be. But, in the real world, that's rarely the case. There's just about always improvement. There's bad data. There's challenges with the data. There's challenges with accessibility and accuracy and data being presented in an understandable way. So not only does the good, clean, beautiful data, not only can that be used as a great tool, but the bad data as well. And in this case, our example is the bad data being used to pinpoint a process problem. And I will say, in my opinion, that bad data is almost always the product of a poor process. So in this example scenario that we're talking about here, the problem was duplicates. So if you have, let's say a CRM has duplicate companies, and so many instances of the same company has been entered there. And so you can trace that back to what is the process problem that is causing that and address that. For instance, if the process is that anytime a sales rep has an opportunity, they just enter a company, as opposed to a process by which they identify whether that company is a client already and bypasses that duplication of entering an additional record. So it's just a lightweight example, but it proves the point that these data problems can give the fuel for addressing a process issue. Right. So those are our 5 strategies, and now it's just a pleasure and exciting opportunity to ask Jeff Roberts for his perspective. In his work with fractional CIOs and CTOs, there are, I'm sure, countless instances of data being used in a really strategic way. And so, Jeff, we would love for you to share with us what you have seen out there from your experience.
Absolutely. And thank you again. Yeah, we do think about data as one of the real key aspects of the strategic value proposition that we bring to clients. And I think that can apply to really any fractional executive. This mindset that we can bring, the benefit of seeing multiple shops and having a lot more real world touches and different contexts. What can you do with data is a huge value add. And a lot of companies really struggle. They're very limited to, here's what we've done in the past. Here's what comes out, in packaged reporting from the systems that we've licensed, things like that, and just opening their mind to see, there are other things possible, and it's not that expensive, and it's not that complex anymore with the tools that are out there. So we go into clients really looking for where our staff spending a significant amount of time connecting the dots with data. Obviously, as IT people, we're looking as a potential to automate those and drive efficiencies, saving them money. We also really like looking for situations where a deeper analysis than what human beings can do can also even potentially drive revenue. So I do have a couple of examples. First, I guess an analytics example from a mortgage company client. So we integrated data from their CRM and their mortgage servicing system and created a new product. This was custom reporting, very deep analysis of each loan, the trends, the patterns, how each component of a mortgage portfolio compared to what we see in the outside world. The project involved obviously integrating and cleansing the data that they had in their systems, as well as bringing in outside data from the industry so that we could have the context of how their portfolio compared to the rest of the world. And that outside data source is really a common theme for us. But in this case, a brand new analytics package, they went to their existing customers who are owners of mortgage portfolios, banks or investment groups that have bought these mortgages or been the lender originally on them. And they upsold their customers, and it's significant sales from that. As well, they went out to sort of the road show when they were trying to win new business, and they used this analytics package to increase their market share. So they now had something that their competitors did not have. And they could say, look, this is why you should send us your mortgage portfolio, because we can give you this. So even when they weren't selling it as its own line item on the invoice to a customer, they were using it to drive revenue. So total ROI from that project was something over 600% when you compare the new revenue they brought in versus the cost, including going to get the outside data, all the integration work, etc. Just an enormous home run for that mortgage company. My second example is how do we use data for AI? BI is great, and there's a lot of untapped potential, but AI is increasingly also feasible and possible with the right data. And we had a real estate firm that we helped to find some AI use cases for data that they had from their existing CRM, as well as outside industry data here as well. And we created AI models to generate property summaries automatically, also company summaries for the purpose of sales and marketing, to put that sort of information at the fingertips of brokers and salespeople. And then we created a model that generated commentary on the market trends and market conditions for real estate investment and leasing in different markets across the country, and how those compared to each other and how different parts of each market compared, to really help brokers be smarter about their markets. And in some of those cases, even those reports were shared with prospective clients. So that project actually drove revenue as well as some efficiencies and time savings, and had almost a 300% ROI. So I could keep going. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about. But I think this idea that we can go beyond just, what's a packaged report. We can go beyond even the data that you have in your enterprise. This enriching and bringing in data to compare to of what your competitors are doing. And there's all sorts of data sources now, from the government to third parties, that it's a really exciting time to be thinking strategically about data.
Jeff, you mentioned AI, which I'm so glad that you brought that into the conversation, because it is all the rage. It's all that people are talking about, it seems. And so a question for you is that I think a lot about the data quality as it relates to AI, and the fact that great data can produce amazing results from AI, but then the converse is also true, which is kind of the thing that I keep in the back of my head as a red flag, is that if the data is poor or inaccurate, the AI is going to deliver, I'll be so bold as to say, tainted results.
Absolutely.
So in those projects, have you guys come up with something that you could share that's a great strategy for mitigating the effect that bad and inaccurate data would have on the outcome?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're so right. And nothing kills momentum and excitement about AI faster than a model that spits out false positives and false negatives.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's going to be just like a person, and there's no judgment. It's just taking the garbage in and spitting the garbage out. So clients are often really shocked at how much, when you do an AI project, how much of the effort is really data. It's data engineering, it's data integration, data quality, data cleansing efforts, and then data enrichment. We're huge believers in. So a couple of tactics there. One is to start paying attention, right? And it sounds cliche, but have a person or just a one-time project around data quality. What are your fill rates? What are your out of range percentages on different key pieces of data that you're going to need for a particular model? Often you can use AI to read documents, abstract data from, even hard copy can be scanned and OCR interpreted. It's amazing what's possible now to fill in the gaps of data that, if a company doesn't have a culture of thinking of data as an asset, a lot of times people put in the minimum required in order to get their deal booked or get their transaction logged or whatever. And so it's a way to sort of scoop back a lot of that time to get the history data. Obviously, going forward, we want to be real, honestly, evangelists is the best word for the strategic value of data. These are gold nuggets on the floor. Let's pick them up. Let's harvest that. Let's get all of this data that we can. It takes 20% longer to enter in more as you're going, and the value of that is huge.
Yes.
And so that's a big sort of cultural shift that helps. And the other tactic we really like a lot is the human in the loop AI approach. So we do, like the commentary I mentioned, for example, in these market conditions, using that as a first draft, right? Here's the AI output. Now that goes to the researcher who used to have to create that report from scratch. They have a draft that they're editing, wordsmithing, polishing. That's obviously a fraction of the time than having to write the thing from scratch. So you have that human to say, oh, that doesn't make sense. We got bad data there, obviously. And we want IT to have sort of a tracking log of issues that are surface like that when we have a human in the loop that's doing quality checking, so that it's a continuous feedback loop, and we can invest the time to go and make it better, so that next time they don't have to make that sort of edit. And through time, depending on the use case, obviously, through time, we often can get to a point where the human in the loop is less important. They're more like rubber stamping the output of AI. Depending on the criticality, though, there may be value for a human to always be in the loop. If it's mission critical, healthcare has a lot of these sort of situations where you want the radiologist still to see the scan, right? And here's what AI said, but when it's health, when it's NASA, mission critical, let's do it. We have one bite at the apple, so to speak. It's hard to beat a human brain.
I love that you use that human in the loop, and it is a good instance to emphasize that democratization of the data, Because if you put the end result data, whether that's AI or whether that's just reporting, in the hands of the person who is inputting that data or has some process touch in that data, then that gives them the understanding of how they're impacting the data and the results and the decisions that are made from that data. Because if they are responsible for putting in data and the output only ever lands on the executive's desk and they never see it, there's no connect there between what they're putting in and the effect that it has. So I love that you brought that up.
100% agree.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and
awesome.
I have
even
one
like
more.
go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was going to ask another question.
So I just noticed Ivy's comment in the chat about people making data entry mistakes. And this goes along with your comment, I think, Robin, that, it's human nature, right? If there's no value, this idea that data is an asset has to be embedded.
Yes.
And the best way to embed it is to give something to the people that
Yes.
benefits them, right? It's an efficiency or it's some kind of capability, or ideally, if it's a sales team and it's CRM data that's so
Yes.
valuable. You give them leads, you give them recommendations for people to contact, things like that. And wow, that you tell them the better your data, the more you put in, the better these recommendations are going to be, the more of them that we can generate. And it
Yes.
can actually put money in your pocket as a salesperson. That's where you really get some traction on quality,
100%.
fill rates, all of it. They just start thinking of it more as a strategic thing that's going to give them a personal ROI.
Love that.
So my question is actually very aligned with that. You said multiple times that a lot of times people are just using reporting that comes out of the box of whatever application they're using. What have you seen to be the root cause of some of that thinking? Like, is it lack of exposure to what could be possible, or what do you have any theories around that?
Yeah. It is a lack of exposure in a lot of cases, or it's people are busy. One of the patterns we see that is just it's a head shake kind of moment for us is the CEO's assistant is asked to combine data from two different systems in Excel because that CEO wants to see that data and it doesn't come combined as it is. And so what do? Well, you give it to someone as a job, and that turns into something that is every week, however many hours of effort that takes, taking apple and orange kind of data and smushing it together. And just not realizing that there are groups out there like InfoFluency. As simple as that is to say, I really think people don't know the power of the tools that are out there now, and having professionals that know how to use those tools, bringing data together, creating visuals, even creating standard, row and column reports. If the data is coming from across the enterprise, they think it's harder than it really is, or they even think that it's impossible.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thank you. What you've shared is so helpful, and just love your real world examples and so appreciate it. And so I know we don't want to run over time. So Alyssa, I would love for you to share some takeaways and lead us into Q&A as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. I feel like there's a great balance of how can you as a fractional do things to expedite your own process, and then also what you brought to light is how can we as service providers and fractionals, guide and advise clients on how they can best internally strategically use data and help them bring that to life. So I feel like we covered both sides of that spectrum really well. And the key takeaways are pretty simple, that even what was mentioned here, that data is an asset. It's something that has strategic value. It can solve problems. It can help you benchmark against previous results. It can accelerate future results, and it can help diagnose, issues. And I think this is a bold statement, but you put all this together and it's like data almost always has the answer to whatever it is that your business is facing. So that's my key takeaway in one.
I love it.
And I think we're going to move into Q&A.
All right, so another friendly reminder for anyone who has some questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. Looks like we have one waiting. I believe this is for you, Jeff, from Brad Groom. In your experience, how do you balance presenting high-level insights for decision makers with the need to delve into more detailed data for operational improvements?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know what I love most about the modern tooling, the Power BIs of the world, et cetera, is this drill down capability.
Mhm.
And before you had an executive report that had to give summary level data, and if something looked wrong or surprising on that report, they had to go look somewhere else or ask a follow-up question, hey, explain line 13 to me. What is that? Now the drill down capabilities of these tools, you really can have the best of both worlds in one interface. So an operational team may start at the middle level of abstraction. There's a way to aggregate up, there's a way to drill down. An executive can start at the very top and navigate their way all the way to transaction level details, all in the same interface. So I love that. It doesn't work for every example. Sometimes there are needs for things like exception reports, right, where you're just zeroing in on things that need attention from someone. That's really operational, and the executive's probably never going to want to drill into that. But so many of the cases that 1, 2, or 3 levels of abstraction is really enough, and giving access to everyone to all of it, even if they kind of default to a certain view, can be really powerful.
Wonderful, thank you. So we've got another question in the chat here. Let's see. I assume this is still targeted towards Jeff. Correct me in the chat here, Brad, if it's not. I'll go ahead and read the question. Can you share an example of a client relationship that became sticky due to data insights, and what specific strategies you used to achieve that? So Robin, that could be a you question as well, whoever wants to take it.
I can toss out an example, but Jeff, why don't you jump in too?
Okay. Happy to do that. So I'll take one that I mentioned. So the AI example, that's a client that has been with us for 5 years, really since the founding of Innovation Vista. And the journey is really a full digital transformation, honestly, that we've been involved in with them and helping strategize with them. I think that what I said earlier about the culture of data, changing the way that people think about data, they see the impact that we have brought. And it's been discussed all the way at the board of directors, I know, and the CEO and his direct reports. We use our data to get smarter. We use our data now to beat our competition. We use our data in these strategic ways, as opposed to just it's there because we need to paper our transactions and we need financial results, and it feels like just sort of perfunctory in a lot of companies. They've begun to think about it strategically, and we've been very lucky to be in the middle of a lot of those proposals and strategies where they want more, right? And we talked about ROI of 300, 600%. I mean, not everything is a home run ball, but when you hit a few home run balls, it tends to make you extremely sticky, and they come back to you and say, so what other ideas do you have? Because we'd love to do that all day. Go spend $1 million and turn around and make 5. Let's do that over and over.
Jeff, I'm going to add to that, is that something that we kind of say around InfoFluency is that data's, and especially visualization, can be a little bit of a gateway drug in that it hooks people. And it only takes one, kind of like you said, home run for someone to get the taste for it, and to, especially if it's introduced by a fractional person who delivers that win with the data, and the executive team gets a taste of that, and it just leaves them wanting more and more and more. And they think of all of the additional business questions that can be answered. And in every case, there is definitely a stickiness that takes place there. So love that.
Thank you both. Alyssa, if you want to help us wrap up the Q&A and just put a bow on this wonderful topic, what are some of the early indicators that a company is ready to invest more in more advanced data solutions that maybe they aren't yet recognizing, that we could call to the carpet and say, if you're experiencing X, Y, or Z, it's probably time to start exploring some of these solutions?
Yeah, that's a great question and a great way to wrap this up. I think there can be multiple indicators across maybe multiple business functions that could be called out. But in our experience, a lot of times companies are really ripe to utilize more advanced solutions, especially when they have a large customer base and maybe they're stagnating on sales. And so I think that could be something that can raise some eyebrows and start to say, well, we have this, multiple thousand customer base. We have all of this, data on them, a lot of attributes and a lot of, like gold, or Jeff said, gold around the CRM data. And, maybe we're not seeing the growth in sales and revenue that we would expect. And so I think that can be just one early indicator that there could be even just a really simplistic opportunity to start analyzing and segmenting the customer base to mine some low-hanging fruit in terms of revenue. So I'll leave it at that for time's sake, but that's a whole nother conversation, I think.
Awesome, thank you.
So typically we do an offer at the end of our webinars that is very related to data. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. InfoFluency is partnering with another firm to put on a fractional networking group. And so this is a closed networking group that is meant for fractional executives, that's heavy on referral giving, business building, creating meaningful connections for one another. And so for this fractional themed webinar, I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention and just share that it's just starting. We will be doing an event as a kind of an info session on September 26th at noon, which is next week. And so if that's something that you're interested in being a part of or checking out, if you're a fractional, looking for more business, more clients to stick to, if you will, come join and check it out. I will have the link to just register for the free info session in the emails following with the recording. And we're also offering 10% off monthly membership for the first 12 months along with that. So again, this is a networking group where fractionals help fractionals build their business and just collaborate and do more business together. And so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, feel free to scan this QR code. This takes you directly to the registration link for the info session. You'll also be getting that link in the follow-up emails, as well as Jeff's contact information and all of our materials and contact information as well. With 1 minute to spare, we also have another landing page that will just take you to additional resources. If you, maybe this is the first or a few exposures you've had to utilizing data more heavily, we have additional resources on our website, blog posts and podcasts and other webinars if you'd like to check those out. We will also be hosting another webinar on October 22nd. We're going to go back to the M&A focus and talk about post-M&A integration and the key role that data plays in that process. So please join us, and you can also register for that webinar on this same landing page. and it's 12:45. So thank you so much for joining us. Big thanks to Jeff for coming in, giving us so much insight and real world experience. And we will follow up with you guys via email. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.